Hello. It has been a busy legislative session this year in Washington. I'm going to discuss one aspect of that today about the digital sales tax. It applies sales tax to all sorts of digital goods and services. My name is Michael Kvistad. I'm a lawyer here at Beresford Booth. I practice mostly in mergers and acquisitions, entity formation, and real estate transactions. But like I said, today I'm here to talk to you about a tax issue that's going to affect lots of companies who engage in digital sales and goods. So, I did want to mention this is a very broad and deep law. It's tax law. And this is really just a high level review. I don't get into the nitty gritty, but it should provide an overview of what you may need to be wary of and look into further as time, frankly, quickly approaches. As the new law is effective October 1, 2025. That's when Washington will begin imposing not a real estate tax, pardon me, but a digital sales tax on a broader array of services, including things like digital advertising. So, what's covered? Well, the amended statute uh, added digital advertising in with using a lot of words. It really gets into digital advertising. Um, but there's a range of other activities that are also included. They include IT training, network operations support, data entry services, search engine marketing, security services, the monitoring of security systems, background checks, temporary staffing services, and also various live online presentations and online presentations. So those services and goods that were not taxed with a sales tax before will start getting taxed with a sales tax, which I refer to as digital sales tax, only to reference that it's digital things that are now included, but it's still just a standard sales tax. But those items will be covered and will be taxed under the sales tax rates beginning October 1st. The state sales tax is 6.5%, and added on to it is local taxes. And so, for instance, in Seattle, that's over 10%, 10.35%. All right, well, what's not covered and why does it matter? Well, one thing that's not covered but doesn't really matter for the efficacy or the potential litigation concerning the statute. But if there's certain services between affiliates, so like subsidiaries, such as live presentations and seminars and various other things that are not subject to this tax if between affiliates. So those aren't covered. But also what's not covered is traditional advertising. Newspapers, printing or publishing of advertising, radio and television broadcasting, and billboards are not covered, are still not covered, and sales tax does not apply to them, similar to those services between affiliated companies. But what's interesting about that traditional advertising not being taxed is I think it was 2021, Maryland passed a very similar statute to take effect this year. And there's a federal statute called the Internet Tax Freedom Act, which basically prohibits prohibits jurisdictions from discriminating against electronic commerce. And so here, or at least in Maryland, there are multiple lawsuits, many brought by kind of the big tech companies that say by taxing digital services, but not for advertising, but not print advertising, not traditional advertising, violates that federal statute, says you can't discriminate between the two. And that litigation is ongoing. That sort of litigation is not, at least as of recently, started in Washington, but it is expected to because it's a very similar law, and that Internet Tax Freedom Act would likely apply here as well. So we'll see what happens there. Any future lawsuit may not stop the start of the tax. It may be fought during even after the tax is applied. So it's just something to keep in mind. Um, and I wanted to also mention that navigating the new laws is never, fun. It's always a challenge for businesses. Um, but Washington businesses, I think, should keep a few things in account just moving forward with these times because it's coming up October 1st when this tax applies to digital services and goods, like we mentioned, including advertising. Um, but it also, some things to keep in mind are, excuse me, to review your contracts, see which party is responsible for tax. Sometimes that can be negotiated. Um, Maybe you might need to adjust pricing models to accommodate for the tax burden. Maybe you want to identify services, certainly, that fall within the scope of the law. So you know if you're a provider of these services that you do have to pay the tax, or collect the tax, I should say, and then pay it to the state. And also just stay informed about potential legal developments, especially any litigation that may affect the statute. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to chat with you about them. Please contact me. And I hope you have a great day. Thank you.